My family ditched me a luxury vacation, then their flight got canceled, and they had to beg me for help. I always thought family was about sticking together, sharing both the good times and the bad. In the Mitchell household, though, I was beginning to realize that family had a more selective definition, one that often didn't include me. My name is Olivia Mitchell, 29 years old, perpetually overlooked middle child, and the family's designated afterthought. At least, that's how it felt when I scrolled through Instagram that rainy Tuesday afternoon. I was on my lunch break at Harrington Financial, where I'd been working as an administrative assistant for 3 years. The pay was decent but not spectacular, which is why I'd recently taken a second job. Something my family didn't know about, not that they ever asked. As I mindlessly thumbed through stories, munching on my sad desk salad, I stopped mid-chew. There was my cousin Taylor, martini in hand, sunglasses perched on her nose with the caption, T-2 days until Maldives magic with the Mitchells. #family getaway, #luxury vacation. The video panned across to show my parents, sister Emma, and brother Caleb all toasting by what looked like our backyard pool. My fork hovered midair as I watched them laugh, discussing final packing arrangements and flight times. I replayed the video 3 times, searching for some explanation, waiting for someone to say, "Wish Olivia could join us," or even acknowledge my absence. Nothing. My stomach nodded. A family vacation? To the Maldives? And no one had said a word to me? I set my phone down, appetite gone. Maybe there was some explanation. Maybe they were planning to surprise me. Maybe. But deep down, I knew better. This wasn't the first time I'd been the family footnote. When I got home that evening to my modest 1-bedroom apartment, I called my mother. I kept my voice casual, asking about her week ahead. "Oh, nothing special, dear. Just the usual." She sounded distracted, the clattering of dishes in the background. "Your father has a golf tournament on Saturday, and I'll probably get some gardening done." The lie stung worse than the exclusion itself. Really? No trips planned? No. Family vacations coming up. I pressed, giving her one last chance to come clean. The pause told me everything. "Who told you?" Her voice had lost its breezy quality. "No one told me, Mom. I saw Taylor's Instagram story. The family toast for the Maldives trip? The one apparently everyone knows about except me?" "Oh, Olivia." She sighed as if I were being unreasonable. "It was a last-minute thing. Emma got an incredible deal through work, and you know how these luxury packages are limited availability, snap decisions." "Last minute," I echoed. "Taylor's countdown says you leave in 2 days. How long have you been planning this?" "It's not a big deal, honey. Just a small getaway." A small getaway to the Maldives? With literally everyone in the family except me? Another pause. "Well, we figured you couldn't afford it anyway. You're always talking about your budget constraints, and we didn't want to make you feel bad." I gripped the phone tighter. They hadn't even given me the option to say no. They'd made the decision for me, wrapped it in false concern, and called it kindness. "I see," I said, my voice suddenly calm. "And when were you going to tell me that you all would be gone? Or was I supposed to show up for Sunday dinner and find an empty house?" "Don't be dramatic, Olivia. It's just a vacation. We'll bring you back a souvenir." A souvenir. Like I was a neighbor's kid they felt obligated to remember, not family. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that 6 months ago, I'd taken a second job at Elite Journeys, one of the most prestigious travel agencies in the city. I'd kept it quiet, tired of my family's judgments about my lack of ambition and constant comparisons to Emma's corporate success or Caleb's startup ventures. At Elite, I worked behind the scenes, processing bookings, managing client communications, and occasionally troubleshooting travel hiccups. The pay wasn't extraordinary, but the perks were employee discounts, insider knowledge of the best deals, and emergency travel assistance that had saved more than one client's vacation. After hanging up with my mother, I sat on my sofa, staring at the wall. The familiar hollow feeling in my chest expanded. I'd spent my whole life being the reliable one, the one who showed up to every family event, who remembered birthdays and anniversaries, who listened to everyone's problems. And yet, when it came to including me in their joy, I was an afterthought. if thought of at all. The next day at Elite Journeys, I was processing the day's bookings when a familiar name jumped out at me.
Mitchell E.
A 6-night stay at the Velasar Maldives Resort, one of our most exclusive properties. All-inclusive luxury package for 5 adults. My hands hovered over the keyboard as I stared at the booking details. Emma had used our family discount code, the one I'd quietly shared during Christmas when she'd mentioned wanting to travel more. She'd acted so grateful then, hugging me and saying I was always thinking of everyone else. Now I understood. I wasn't excluded because they thought I couldn't afford it. I was excluded because they simply didn't want me there. As I scrolled through the itinerary, the private pool villas, the sunset cruises, the premium spa packages, something inside me shifted. The hurt crystallized into something harder, something with edges. For once, I wasn't going to smile and pretend it didn't matter. For once, I had knowledge they didn't know I possessed. And for once, I had the power to do something about it. I didn't get mad. I got strategic. The Elite Journeys office hummed with activity as I stared at my sister's booking on the screen. My coworker Diane glanced over at me. "Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I quickly minimized the window. "Just tired." Late night. After Diane walked away, I reopened the booking. The longer I looked at it, the more details revealed themselves like a slap to the face. This wasn't some spontaneous getaway, as my mother had claimed. The reservation had been made 3 months ago. 3 months of family dinners and group chats where no one had breathed a word to me. Even worse, they'd used my employee discount code, a perk I'd shared with Emma during a rare moment when she'd actually seemed interested in my life. She'd acted like she cared about my new job, asking questions and smiling. Now I understood why. I clicked through the itinerary details. 5 travelers: Mom, Dad, Emma, Caleb, and Taylor. 5 luxury oceanfront villas for 6 nights. Champagne welcome service. Private chef dinner under the stars. Sunset dolphin cruise. The works. Total savings with my employee discount, $4,800. My throat tightened. They'd used me to save almost $5,000 on a vacation I wasn't invited to. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Emma's Instagram. There it was, a photo of her new Louis Vuitton luggage set with the caption, "Ready for paradise." #treat yourself, #vacation mode. The same luggage set she told me she couldn't possibly afford when I'd admired it in a shop window last month. I minimized social media and stared blankly at my computer screen. The booking system at Elite Journeys was comprehensive. I could see everything. Their exact flight times. Their seat assignments. The special meal requests my mother had made, low sodium for Dad, vegetarian for Emma's latest health kick. The premium car service scheduled to meet them at Malé Airport. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could do nothing. I could be the bigger person. My phone buzzed with a family group chat notification. I opened it to see a message from my mother. "Don't forget, everyone, Sunday dinner is canceled next week. Your father and I have a charity event." Another lie. They'd be halfway across the world, sipping cocktails by their private pools. Something snapped inside me. 7 years of therapy had taught me about setting boundaries, about standing up for myself. But sometimes you needed to do more than just use your words. I turned back to my computer and started looking more carefully at their booking. As a booking agent, I had access to all kinds of useful tools. Tools that could flag discrepancies, create small hiccups. Nothing dangerous or truly disruptive. I wasn't a monster. Just enough to send a message. The booking system had a function that allowed agents to flag potential issues for review. These flags weren't serious enough to cancel a booking outright, but they created extra verification steps that could slow things down at critical moments. I carefully created a minor discrepancy between the names on the flight bookings and the resort reservation, adding a middle initial to Emma's name in the resort booking that wasn't on her passport or flight information. Then I flagged it as a potential identity verification issue. The system would likely catch this during the automated 48-hour pre-departure verification process, right around the time they'd be heading to the airport. It wouldn't cancel anything, but it would trigger a series of verification steps that would need to be resolved before check-in. Steps that I conveniently knew exactly how to navigate. I sat back in my chair, heart racing a little. Was I really doing this? Yes. Yes, I was. But I wasn't stopping there. While I was processing their booking, I noticed something else. My family had opted for the travel insurance package. Smart, given the cost of their trip. But they'd selected the basic coverage, not realizing that Elite's terms required premium coverage for packages over $15,000. Their package, with all the add-ons, came to $15,350. I could have told them. I should have told them. Instead, I made a note in the system. Client opted for basic coverage despite recommendation for premium tier. Proceed as requested. This meant that if any issues arose, say, from a flagged name discrepancy, the basic insurance wouldn't fully cover the rebooking fees or accommodation changes. I closed the booking and took a deep breath. I hadn't canceled anything. I hadn't sabotaged their trip. I'd simply let the system function as designed, with the knowledge that it might create some inconveniences for them. Just as I was about to log out for the day, a vacation package alert caught my eye. Bali Bliss, employee flash sale, 24 hours only. I clicked through the details. A luxury villa at the Viceroy in Ubud, private pool, daily spa treatments, cultural tours, and a personal chef. The employee discount brought it down to less than a third of what my family was paying for the Maldives. The dates perfectly overlapped with my family's trip. Before I could overthink it, I booked it. If they could have their luxury getaway without me, I could have mine without them. That evening, I called my manager at Harrington Financial and requested a week of vacation time, citing a family emergency. It wasn't entirely a lie. This was about family, just not in the way she assumed. As I packed my new suitcase, not Louis Vuitton, but still quite nice, I felt a strange sense of calm. For once, I wasn't being the responsible, reliable Olivia who never rocked the boat. For once, I was choosing myself. And if my family's perfect vacation hit a few bumps along the way, well, that was just an unfortunate coincidence. Or so they would think. Bali welcomed me like a warm embrace. As my private transfer pulled into the Viceroy Ubud, I couldn't help but smile at the contrast. While my family was likely queuing at the airport check-in counter, I was being greeted with flower garlands and cold lemongrass tea by staff who bowed and called me Miss Olivia as if I were royalty. My villa took my breath away. Perched on the edge of a lush green ravine, it featured a private infinity pool that seemed to spill into the jungle below. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a panoramic view of rice paddies stretching toward distant mountains. Inside, a four-poster bed draped in white mosquito netting looked like something from a dream. I set my phone to silent and placed it on the bedside table. For once, I wanted to be unreachable. My family thought I was working both jobs this week. They had no idea I was about to experience the kind of luxury they deliberately excluded me from. After changing into a swimsuit, I settled on a sun lounger with a mango smoothie the villa host had prepared. The humidity wrapped around me like a blanket as I closed my eyes, listening to the symphony of tropical birds and the gentle splash of water from my private pool. This was bliss. This was. My phone vibrated against the wooden table, interrupting my moment of zen. I ignored it. It vibrated again.
And again.
Finally, curiosity got the better of me. I reached for it and saw 3 missed calls from Emma. A text followed. Liv, call me ASAP. Travel emergency. I smiled and set the phone back down. I knew exactly what was happening. 2 hours later, after a rejuvenating massage at the resort spa, I returned to find my phone flooded with notifications. 6 missed calls from Emma.
From Mom.
2 from Dad. Even Caleb had called twice, my golden boy brother, who typically texted only on birthdays and Christmas. I scrolled through the texts. Liv, serious problem with our booking. Need your travel agency expertise now. Olivia, call your mother immediately. Hey sis, we're stuck at the airport. Some issue with the names on the booking. Emma said you might be able to help. I contemplated ignoring them completely, but a small, petty part of me wanted to hear them explain. Wanted to hear them pretend they weren't excluding me from anything important. I called Emma back. Olivia. Thank God. Her voice was frantic. We're having a nightmare at the airport. Our flight's been delayed twice, and now they're saying there's an issue with our booking. Oh. I feigned confusion. What kind of issue? Something about my name not matching exactly between the flight and the resort reservation. They're saying I have a middle initial on one, but not the other. The airline says we need to contact the booking agency to resolve it before they can issue our boarding passes. That's strange, I said, stirring my fresh coconut water with a bamboo straw. Have you called Elite Journeys? I've been on hold for 40 minutes. Dad's about to lose it, and Mom's stress-eating airport cinnamon rolls. We're going to miss our connection at Dubai at this rate. I could hear the airport announcements in the background, the stress in my sister's voice. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt validated. That sounds really frustrating, I said, my voice neutral. Where are you going again? You never mentioned. There was a pause. Oh, just a quick family trip. Nothing special. Even now, she couldn't be honest. Right? I said. Well, I'm actually in the middle of something at work. Can I call you back? Liv, please. You work at a travel agency. Surely you can help us? This trip cost a fortune. I bit back the response I wanted to give. Yes, a fortune minus the $4,800 employee discount you got through me. Instead, I said, let me see what I can do. I'll call you back in 30 minutes. I hung up and went back to sipping my coconut water, watching a family of monkeys play in the trees beyond my infinity pool. I set a timer on my phone for 29 minutes. When it went off, I called not Emma, but the Elite Journeys emergency line. I identified myself as an employee and explained the situation, conveniently omitting that this was my own family. The agent on duty quickly located the booking. Oh yes, I see the flag. There's a discrepancy in the passenger manifests. We'll need to reissue the entire booking with the corrected information. Unfortunately, that means the clients will miss today's flight. The earliest we can get them rebooked is tomorrow morning's flight. That's unfortunate, I said, trying to sound professional rather than pleased. Is there no way to expedite? Not with this particular airline, I'm afraid. Their systems require a full 12-hour verification period for corrected bookings. It's in our terms and conditions. I see. And what about their accommodations for tonight? Since they have the basic insurance package, they're entitled to airport hotel accommodation, but they'll need to cover the difference for anything premium. The agent paused. It's unusual for a booking of this value to have only basic coverage. We normally recommend premium for packages over $15,000. Yes, very unusual, I agreed. Please make all the necessary arrangements. I'll inform the clients. I called Emma back and explained the situation in my most professional voice. The explosion on the other end was exactly what I expected. Tomorrow morning? That's not acceptable. Do you know how much we paid for this trip? We'll lose an entire day of our vacation. There must be something you can do. I'm sorry, but that's the airline's policy. I've arranged for you all to stay at the airport hotel tonight. You'll need to collect the vouchers from the airline service desk. A hotel by the airport? Are you kidding me? Emma's voice had reached a pitch I'd only heard when she found out her ex-boyfriend had cheated on her. We're supposed to be checking into Ocean Villas tonight, not some airport dump. I understand your frustration, I said calmly, watching a butterfly land on the orchid next to my pool. But there's really nothing more that can be done. As Emma continued to rant, I added, by the way, how is everyone? Mom, Dad, Taylor? The silence that followed was deafening. We're fine, Emma finally said, her voice suddenly guarded. Why do you ask? No reason, I replied. Just being polite. Call me if you need anything else. I hung up and leaned back in my lounger, a smile spreading across my face. Day one of my family's dream vacation would be spent in an airport hotel while I watched the sunset from my private infinity pool in Bali. Sometimes, karma needed a little help, and I was more than happy to provide it. Morning in Bali arrived with golden sunlight filtering through the villa's curtains. I stretched luxuriously in my king-sized bed, thinking about the day ahead. A private yoga session on my terrace, followed by a traditional Balinese breakfast, then perhaps exploring the local temples with my personal guide. Meanwhile, my family would be attempting their second departure to the Maldives. I wondered if they'd make it this time. I didn't have to wonder long. As I sat cross-legged on my yoga mat, breathing in the fragrant morning air, my phone lit up with a call from my mother. I considered letting it go to voicemail, but curiosity won out. "Hello," I answered, keeping my voice neutral. "Olivia, thank goodness," my mother said, sounding uncharacteristically frazzled. "How are you, sweetheart?" The sudden endearment made me raise an eyebrow. My mother typically saved pet names for Emma and Caleb. "I'm fine, Mom. Just about to start my day at work." The lie came easily. "What's up?" "Oh, nothing much." Her forced casual tone was painful to hear. "Just checking in on my middle child. You know, making sure you're doing well, eating properly, that sort of thing." I suppressed a laugh. "That's thoughtful of you. Is something wrong? You never call me this early." A pause. "Well, since you ask, we're having a bit of a situation." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The booking issue from yesterday is fixed, but now they're saying our flight has been canceled due to mechanical issues. The next available one isn't until tomorrow night." "That's terrible," I said, watching a butterfly land on the orchid beside me. "Sounds really stressful." "It is. And the resort is saying they can't refund the nights we miss because it's less than 72 hours before check-in. That's 2 nights at nearly $1,000 per villa." I let the silence stretch, waiting. Finally, she cracked. "Olivia, I know you work at that fancy travel agency. Emma mentioned it yesterday. Can you help us? Please? Your father's blood pressure is through the roof, and Taylor's having one of her meltdowns. I don't understand what you want me to do, Mom. Flight cancellations happen." I took a sip of the fresh-pressed juice my villa host had prepared. "Did you purchase travel insurance?" "Yes, but apparently it doesn't cover the full cost of the missed accommodation. Something about having the wrong level of coverage. It's all very complicated." "That is complicated," I agreed, knowing exactly why their coverage was insufficient. "Where are you going again? You never actually told me." Another pause. "We're going to the Maldives."
Her voice was small now.
"It was supposed to be a surprise for your father's birthday. Dad's birthday was in April. It was September. A surprise trip 5 months before his birthday?" I kept my tone light. "How thoughtful." "Well, the rates were better this time of year," she fumbled. "Olivia, please. Can you use your connections to help us? We're desperate." The word, "we're," hung in the air. Not "I'm desperate." We're desperate. Meaning they were all huddled around the phone, listening to my mother beg the child they'd excluded. "Put me on speaker," I said suddenly.
"What?"
"Put me on speakerphone. If everyone's there, let's all talk together." A rustling sound, then my mother's distant voice. "She wants to be on speaker. Everyone be nice." "Hi, Olivia," came the chorus of forced cheerfulness. "Hello, everyone," I replied calmly. "So, I understand you're all on a family trip that I knew nothing about until I saw it on Taylor's Instagram." Silence. "And now you need my help because things aren't going to plan." More silence, then my father's gruff voice. "Now, Olivia, it wasn't like that. You just what, Dad? Forgot to invite your middle child? Decided I wouldn't want to come without asking me? Thought I couldn't afford it, even though you used my employee discount code to save nearly $5,000. A collective intake of breath. "How did you?" Emma started. "I processed bookings, Emma. I saw your name. I saw the discount code. I saw everything." I took a deep breath. "So, let me understand this. You planned a luxury family vacation without me, lied about it when I found out, used my employee discount behind my back, and now you want me to fix your problems." "We didn't mean to hurt you," my mother said quietly. "But you did." The words hung between us. "You did hurt me, and not one of you has actually apologized." The silence that followed was deafening. I could picture them all looking at each other, wondering who would speak first. Finally, to my surprise, it was Caleb. "I'm sorry, Liv." My brother's voice was uncharacteristically emotional. "You're right. We were awful. I got caught up in everyone's excitement and didn't think about how it would make you feel. It was cruel to exclude you. I blinked, caught off guard by his sincerity. I'm sorry too, Emma added, though her tone suggested the words cost her. We should have invited you. One by one, they apologized. My mother's was tearful. My father's was brief, but seemed genuine. Even Taylor, who wasn't technically immediate family, offered a contrite sorry, Cousin Liv. I sat there on my yoga mat, thousands of miles away, feeling a strange mix of vindication and unexpected emotion. The apologies I'd never thought I'd hear were finally being spoken. Thank you, I said finally. I appreciate that. So, will you help us? My mother ventured. I smiled to myself. I'll see what I can do, but I want you all to understand something. This isn't just about this trip. It's about years of being treated like an afterthought. Things need to change. They will, my father promised, surprising me again. Okay then. Send me your booking information. The real, complete information this time. I'll see what I can arrange. As I ended the call, my villa host appeared with a tray of tropical fruits and fresh coffee. Is everything all right, Miss Olivia? You look emotional. I looked out at the lush Balinese landscape, then down at my phone where my family's details were already arriving via text. Everything's fine, I said, feeling a strange new power in the family dynamic. In fact, things might finally be changing for the better. I picked up my phone again. I wasn't going to leave them stranded completely, but I wasn't going to make it too easy either. After all, some lessons needed to sink in deep. After finishing my breakfast, I decided it was time to help my stranded family on my terms. I called Rajiv, the senior travel coordinator at Elite Journeys who owed me a favor after I'd covered his shifts during his father's illness. Olivia, how's Bali treating you? He greeted cheerfully. It's paradise, I replied, walking barefoot across my villa's polished wooden floors. But I need a favor, Raj. My family's stuck at the airport with a canceled flight to the Maldives. Bookings under Emma Mitchell. I could hear his keyboard clicking.
Yes.
Mechanical issues with their rescheduled flight. Not looking good. Next direct flight isn't until tomorrow evening. Any chance of getting them on an earlier flight? Maybe through a different connection? I asked, deliberately not pulling rank or pressuring him. Let me see. More typing. There's a flight leaving in 3 hours with a stopover in Singapore. It would get them to Malé by midnight. Perfect. Can you book it? I can, but... He hesitated. It's only got 5 economy seats available. Their original booking was for business class. I smiled to myself. That's fine. They'll take it. And the resort? Rajiv asked. They've already missed one night. Can you call the Velasaro? Explain the situation. See if they'll credit the missed night toward an extra night at the end or some premium experiences. I'll try, but with their insurance level. I know, I said. Just see what you can do. And Raj, this is completely between us. After hanging up, I texted my family, solution in progress. Check your email in 30 minutes. Then I got ready for my Balinese cooking class, slipping my phone into my bag with a lightness I hadn't felt in years. An hour later, as I learned to make the perfect sauté sauce, my phone vibrated repeatedly. I ignored it until the chef's demonstration ended, then checked the messages. Economy class? Emma had written. Is this a joke? The flight leaves in 2 hours. We'll never make it. From my mother. They downgraded our rooms too. No private pools. This from Taylor. Finally, a message from my father. Thank you, Olivia. We'll make it work. I smiled at that last one. Dad had always been practical, if emotionally distant. Of all of them, he might actually be learning something from this experience. I called them, interrupting what sounded like a heated argument. Listen carefully, I said when they quieted down. This is the best option available. The resort has agreed to switch your oceanfront villas to garden view rooms with no additional charge, despite the late change. They've also added a complimentary sunset dinner for your last night. Garden view? Emma sounded horrified. We paid for ocean view, with private pools. Yes, and you missed your check-in date, which according to the resort's policy means they can reassign your original rooms. You're lucky they had any availability at all. My voice was professional, detached. As for the flight, it's economy or waiting another day. Your choice. But our original booking, my mother began, was compromised by the name discrepancy flag and then the mechanical cancellation. I finished for her. These things happen in travel. That's why premium insurance is recommended for luxury packages. A heavy silence followed. We'll take it, my father said firmly. Thank you, Olivia. You're welcome. The car service to the airport has been rebooked. It will arrive in 30 minutes. Don't be late. I ended the call before any more complaints could start. I returned to my cooking class feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and something else. Not quite guilt, but perhaps a recognition that I'd gone far enough. They would still have their vacation, just not the flawless luxury experience they'd planned without me. That evening, as I sat on my terrace watching the sunset paint the rice fields gold, I received a photo from my father. It showed all of them squashed into economy seats, Taylor's face a mask of barely contained rage, Emma looking like she'd bitten into something sour. My parents, however, were smiling wearily. On our way. Thank you. My father had written. I felt a twinge of not regret, exactly. Perspective, perhaps. I opened my photo gallery and scrolled through the pictures I'd taken that day. The sacred monkey forest, the tiered rice terraces, the local market bursting with colors and scents. On impulse, I selected the most stunning shot. Me in a flowing dress, standing before an ancient temple with mountains in the background, looking happier than I had in years. I posted it to Instagram with a caption, "Finding peace in Bali. Sometimes the journey you take alone is the most meaningful. Hashtag solo travel, hashtag Bali bliss." Then I added it to our family group chat. The responses came quickly. You're in Bali? Emma, when did you plan this? Mom, that looks amazing. Dad, wait. How could you afford that? Taylor. I didn't respond. Let them wonder. Let them see that the quiet middle child they'd overlooked had a life of her own, a life that could be just as exciting and fulfilling as theirs, maybe more so because I'd created it for myself. The next morning, I received confirmation that my family had checked into the Velasur Maldives, albeit in their downgraded rooms. I also got an alert that I'd been tagged in a social media post. It was a photo from Caleb, the first time he'd ever tagged me in anything. It showed their garden view room, which despite not having a private pool was still objectively beautiful. His caption read, "Not what we planned, but grateful to be here, and even more grateful for family who help when you don't deserve it." At Olivia Mitchell, I owe you one. Hashtag family first. I stared at my phone for a long moment. Then I did something I hadn't planned on. I extended my stay in Bali by 3 more days. Not out of spite this time, but because I was genuinely enjoying myself. For once, I was prioritizing my own happiness instead of worrying about what my family thought or needed from me. As my villa host brought me my morning coffee, he noticed my expression. "Good news, Miss Olivia?" I looked up and smiled. Just making plans for myself. For the first time in my life, that felt completely true. 2 weeks after returning from Bali, I stood on my parents' front porch, finger hovering over the doorbell. Sunday family dinner had been a Mitchell tradition since I was a child, but I'd skipped the last one, claiming a work commitment. In truth, I wasn't sure how to face them after everything that had happened. My extended Bali vacation had been transformative. I'd hiked up volcanoes at dawn, learned to make offerings at a Hindu temple, and spent hours simply sitting in cafes, watching the world go by. For the first time in my life, I hadn't thought about how my family would judge my choices. I'd simply lived. Taking a deep breath, I pressed the doorbell. My mother opened the door, her face brightening. "Olivia, you're here." She pulled me into a hug that lasted several seconds, longer than usual. The house smelled of roast chicken and cinnamon, Mom's signature Sunday meal. As I walked into the living room, conversation stopped. Emma sat on the couch scrolling through her phone while Caleb was explaining something to my father, hands gesturing animatedly. "Liv." Caleb was the first to react, crossing the room to give me a quick side hug. I was just telling Dad about this tech startup that reminds me of your travel agency work. They're creating an AI that predicts flight delays before they happen. I blinked, surprised. Caleb had never shown interest in my career before. That sounds interesting, I said cautiously, waiting for the other shoe to drop. My father stood up, looking slightly uncomfortable. Olivia.
Good to see you.
He patted my shoulder awkwardly. Your, trip looked nice. From the photos. Emma glanced up from her phone. Hey, Liv. Love that top on you. I stood there, feeling like I'd walked into a parallel universe. Was this really my family? The same people who had planned a luxury vacation without me just weeks ago? Dinner's ready, my mother called from the dining room. As we settled around the table, I noticed they'd placed me next to my father at the head of the table, Emma's usual spot. My sister shot me a quick look, but said nothing as she took a seat across from me. Conversation flowed strangely easily. My mother asked detailed questions about Bali. My father wanted to know about the financial aspects of my trip, how I'd managed such luxury on my salary. Instead of feeling judged, it seemed like genuine curiosity. After the main course, as my mother cleared plates for dessert, Emma finally addressed the elephant in the room. So, we should probably talk about what happened, she said, folding her napkin precisely. The Maldives trip. My father cleared his throat.
Yes.
That was not our finest moment as a family. The garden view rooms were actually quite nice. My mother called from the kitchen, always the peacemaker. And the complimentary sunset dinner was lovely. That's not the point, Mom, Caleb said, surprising me again. We treated Liv like she didn't matter. Then we had to beg for her help when things went wrong. Emma nodded, though I could tell the admission cost her. It wasn't fair, and I'm sorry. For real this time, not just because we needed your help. My father, never one for emotional discussions, spoke up. Your mother and I have been talking. We didn't realize. We hadn't noticed how often we've left you out, Olivia. He looked me directly in the eyes, something he rarely did. It won't happen again. I sat there, fork suspended midair, waiting for the catch. For the subtle blame shifting that usually followed any family apology. It didn't come. Instead, my mother returned with dessert. Individual lemon tarts, my favorite, not the chocolate cake Emma always requested. We actually have something to ask you, my mother said, setting the tarts down. We're planning a family trip to Italy next summer. All of us. She emphasized the last part. We'd like your help planning it if you're willing. I stared at them, searching for signs of insincerity. You want my help? Who better? Caleb said with a grin. You clearly know what you're doing. My Instagram post from the Maldives got more likes than anything I've ever posted, even with the downgraded room. Emma rolled her eyes but smiled. Plus, we've learned our lesson about trying to navigate travel issues without an expert. And about excluding family, my father added quietly. I took a bite of my lemon tart, considering. Trust didn't rebuild overnight. But this felt like a genuine shift, not just guilt-driven overcompensation. I'd be happy to help plan, I said finally, on one condition. They all looked at me expectantly. I get final say on the gelato shops we visit. The tension broke as everyone laughed. As dessert continued, we fell into discussions about Italian cities and sites, my family actually listening to my opinions and expertise. Later that evening, as I was leaving, Caleb walked me to my car. I meant what I said in that Instagram post, he told me, hands in his pockets. I owe you one. We all do. But more than that, I missed having a relationship with my sister. The real you, not just the quiet middle child who never makes waves. I looked at my brother in the porch light. I'm not that person anymore, I said honestly. I can't go back to being overlooked. Good, he nodded. The new Olivia is much more interesting anyway. He gave me another quick hug before heading back inside. As I drove home, I thought about how one decision, booking that trip to Bali, allowing my family's travel plans to hit a few snags, had completely shifted our family dynamic. They'd seen me differently, because I'd finally seen myself differently. The quiet middle child they'd ditched now held a new kind of power in the family. Not power over them, that had never been my goal, but power within myself. The confidence to exist as an equal. The strength to be visible. Perhaps the most surprising discovery wasn't how my family had changed, but how I had. In seeking to teach them a lesson, I'd learned the most important one myself. Sometimes, you have to leave people behind to help them see you've been there all along.